Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Backroom Podcast. It's me again, Scott Findlay, the director, one of the directors from the Backroom, and this is actually our first podcast from in the Philippines. So we're here in the Philippines, in our office in Clark, and we are so lucky to have with us a friend, a colleague, and a travel partner. I have with me Phillippa Findlay. So Phillippa, welcome.
Thank you, Scott.
Right, we're just going to give you some questions and we'll just push through. So I'll first of all let you introduce yourself. Sort of, a wee bit of background and how you got into this accounting game.
Well, that's a long time ago. I went straight from school into a trainee accounting position and just studied part-time for 2 years and worked for a local firm way in the deep south New Zealand in Chicago. And then you just went off to university for a couple of years, completed your degree, then completed your CA, and I basically worked in compliance the whole of my career, just quite long. And except for when I went overseas, I worked corporate for 2 years while I was in London. But yeah, that's cool. Kind of my lifetime in the accounting world from 17 to say.
So young, very young. You're one of the earliest adopters of the Backroom. Funny that. How did you start with the Backroom? What's your story? When you started, how is it going now? How has the pandemic affected things and your business operations?
It's quite a lot of questions there.
Yeah,
sorry. Our accounting practice was in Wanaka, in central Otago in New Zealand, and we actually found it really hard to attract young accountants to the region. It's a really nice place to live, but might not be so your first destination when you're recently graduated in New Zealand. So they seem to go off to the big cities. So we tried some outsourcing and we had a couple of fails, and then we kind of tripped upon Philippines and outsourcing from there. And so that's where the journey began. And I was lucky enough to kind of travel over the first time and meet with our staff and do some training with them. So I was kind of pretty instant. I knew this was going to be the right pathway for us because you're dealing with the same person, they become part of your team, and so then you can teach them your way, and yeah, that's kind of how it became business history.
Yeah. And just to let you know, we talk outsourcing. We like to call it actually offshoring. I think it's probably a better name for it. Now, I want to sort of talk more operationally about a few things because you're quite reasonably hands-on and very hands-on with your team here in Clark. What were some of the key initiatives or best practice that you think was important for your team and sort of made them efficient and happy right now? How did you introduce this?
So we were early adopters of getting into the cloud. And so as soon as we were in the cloud, the world just kind of opened up to us. And it also opened up to, for even accountants in New Zealand, being able to work from different locations. And then the easiest way was for us to sort our systems out first. And we had to do that pretty quickly. And we talked about passing the baton. We had to make sure that a job never got stopped. So then we had to set up our systems with really good tasks so that you could pass the baton around the team. And then we kind of started off with the prepping for the start, just getting our files, all sorted and ready to do the compliance work. And that was a really good introduction for our offshore team to get really used to the New Zealand way of how we did it. And so they were, they were in our Xero, they were looking at last year's accounts, they were in the IRD system, the company's office, ACC, so they got a real feeling for how it all worked. So from there, we cottoned on pretty quickly that these guys are smart, and we needed to get them drafted because they were doing things quicker.
Well, so you didn't restrict them from anything?
No.
Okay,
No.
sure.
And then like from drafting, then we just kind of went on, well, okay, so they're drafting sets of accounts, they're getting the zero ledgers all, ship shape, so they can start doing tax forecasts. And then from tax forecast, it leads on to dividends. And then obviously there's the GST falls into with that as well.
So what you're saying it's effectively, it's a desk over here in the Philippines, which could have been just right beside you in little old Wanaka.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's kind of how I treated it. And for the first couple of years, just to build those relationships, when I was organising a job for someone to do, I actually used to make videos so that I would be speaking and they would. So it was like back in the old days, if my manager came and put a file on my desk, they would speak to me and tell me about the file. So I used to try and do that with the work as well. But now I'm so lucky. I've been working with two of the members in their team for 7 years, so they know the files.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow. Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
A little bit of the culture side of things. So they became part of. I think back then it would have been Findlay and Co.
Yeah, so we have at team meetings and kind of any opportunity I would pick up my headset, call them and just have a chat. I feel like I know their families really well. One of the girls has a brother who lives in New Zealand, so she's actually been out to New Zealand, down to Wanaka, came and stayed with us. So I don't know, feel like I know them as well as I know my workmates in Wanaka.
So the culture thing sort of leads on to probably, well, I've chucked a few sneaky ones in there. Probably last question, Phillippa. You're here in Clark now. What's it like over here and working with your team?
It's a little bit warmer than currently in Wanaka. But no, it's really good. I asked to be actually sitting with the team, like just in amongst them, and just working with them. I'm still working like I would be in Wanaka, but obviously there's little bits and pieces we're stopping, we're chatting about stuff where I'm seeing how it is from their end. The whole time thing's a bit of a mind blow for me, but they're so accommodating. They start early to try and work in with us, which is really awesome. But yet positive for them is they get to leave early and get home their afternoon. So it's just really nice actually sitting and being in their little team as opposed to being in the New Zealand team. It's enjoyable.
It is. Well, that's probably it, Phillippa. I've got to have a big thank you for attending this and sort of sparing a few minutes of your busy day. I'd just like to thank our viewers. I hope you got a lot. Well, you would have got some massive stuff out of that from Phillippa, because she is really, probably, one of the most experienced accountants to do with, offshoring, probably in New Zealand, I'd say. Very hands-on. So I hope you all got some value from that. And that's it. That's sort of from here over in Clark, the Backroom podcast. So that wasn't so bad, was it? How are the kids? Have you been in contact with them?
Not sure.